Don't forget. So, just 1 second here. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. I'm Taylor Phillips. He's Ed Smith. We got a lot to talk about tonight, including the Lions, a little bit of college football, the Red Wings, Pistons, and Tigers. They've signed a couple pitchers, but first off, the Lions, they had a good second quarter, but that's the only good quarter they had. Unfortunately, as they fell apart, they lose to the Bears, Chicago, 28-13 at Soldier Field. Goff looked awful again. Justin Fields had plenty of protection in the pocket again, like he usually does, while his wide receivers like DJ Moore keep getting left open, especially on 4th and 13, where DJ Moore burned Jerry Jacobs while Aiden Hutchinson jumped offside, keeping this a free play. But just again, the Lions fall apart. They lose 28-13. They fall to 9-4. So Ed, what the heck happened?
Well, I can tell you precisely what happened out there, Taylor. It starts with these two words: zero discipline. Dan Campbell himself said it in a press conference after the game that this team was not disciplined at all whatsoever, and it showed in multiple ways. First and foremost, the fact that there were so many penalties, so many flags that were thrown on this play, particularly against Detroit. I believe there was 8 penalties for 50 plus yards. I believe that's what the total penalty yardage result it was. You can't have that happen, especially when it becomes in situations to where, your offense is already struggling as is. You can't have too many pre-snap penalties. You can't have too many holding penalties or incidental tripping penalties, whatever the case may be. So between that on just that issue plaguing both sides of the ball, that was the main thing. Plus another thing as well, turnovers. What is the one thing I was saying to you last week, Taylor? As long as the Lions take care of the ball and don't turn over, they'll be in a good spot. Well, what did you see here against Chicago? 3 turnovers, 3 giveaways by the offense to the defense, particularly by Jared Goff, with the 2 interceptions and the fumble, the lost fumble as well. Again, just more of the same issues that we've been plaguing this team now, plaguing the offense for the past few weeks, just being too careless with the football. That marks now, again, another game now where there's been at least 2 or more turnovers by the Lions offense in the game. That's stuff like that is going to be inexcusable. It's inexcusable now. It's going to be very inexcusable come playoff time if you're very lucky and able to even get that far.
Yeah. And again, the Lions, they finally they again fall apart. That's what happens when you turn the ball over 3 times and commit way too many penalties against a then 4-8 Chicago Bears team. They weren't the only team. Thankfully, the Lions weren't the only team, the only top dog team losing to a 4-8 team. The Packers lost to a 4-8 Giants game, New York Giants team.
And it helped greatly in terms of making that magic number smaller for the Lions. But still, when you have a game for yourself, when you have 8 penalties, you have 3 turnovers, as I mentioned, but also 1 on 5 on 4th downs, that has to fall on coaching at some point. So that falls on Dan Campbell with his aggressiveness, not knowing when to be practical with his aggression in certain key moments, and also with the play calling. Was it on one of those 4th downs that Goff had underthrown Jamison Williams and then led to the interception, which is another issue. For some reason, with this offense and with Ben Johnson with the play calling, whether it be by choice or by choice by Jared Goff on the field, purposeful or not, however it is. But for some reason, they're not getting the ball to Jameson Williams enough, and I don't explain why. The past couple weeks, you've been doing the right things, using different routes, using different ways to get Jamo the ball, using reverse, whatever the case may be. But for here in this game, Ben Johnson decided to have Jamo only be the go route vertical deep threat when there's many ways that by now teams have been scouting you and knowing the fact that A, they know you can't throw it deep, or or you refuse to throw it deep for some reason whatsoever. So what's the point of even having a guy go deep when you know you're not even going to target him or even target that length of the field? So all that works against Detroit's favor. It doesn't help that your defense, fair or not, did not have another good game. They had a sloppy start in the first quarter, have that 10-0 start. You mentioned the fourth and 13, which was another backbreaker of a play, but also the fact that they gave up 142 yards rushing on the ground. That's something you rarely see with this Detroit defense this season. They've always been um, well-rounded in terms of stopping the run or making sure that the opposing team did not have a day on the ground. But in this case, that was not the case. And for this game, as what the Bears, they averaged at about 4.7 yards per carry, between Freeman, between Justin Fields and whatnot, doing what they had to do up and down that field. It was quite alarming and frankly embarrassing. I don't know what was more embarrassing, that or Taylor Decker's pass protection.
Also, 229 passing yards allowed. Factor
Well,
that
hey,
in.
again, at that point when you're trying to condense the game, trying to make adjustments with your defense, trying to force Justin Fields into a passer more so than a runner. Well, that's what happened. And like I said, and like you mentioned, Taylor, with that fourth down play, you just can't have that happen. And that's on Aiden Hutchinson. I think, as fair as you can possibly say in regards to Aiden. I understand there are things that are out of his control, things that are just not his fault. But on that play, that's got to be on him. And I think he at least was aware of that, and that's why he took acknowledgement and accountability of his play in the post game. He was quite emotional. He was quite serious about it, and I understand that. But guess what? He can't be the only player delivering that kind of message. You want to see that more from other certain players, namely the starting quarterback that's been more of a chef, a baker chef as of late, with how been protecting the football.
Makes Russell Wilson look more like a total cook type of chef.
Please.
That's what we'll touch on pretty soon, as the Lions get ready to kick off at Ford Field against the Denver Broncos Saturday at 8:15 on NFL Network. But Aiden Hutchinson, the mistake. Jerry Jacobs got a pass breakup, but other than that, he did not play discipline either. And neither did the secondary. And while the pass rush kept getting blocked at times.
This is where, again, the pass rush, I believe, would benefit greatly. Well, first and foremost, they didn't have Bruce Irvin in this game, which kind of understandable. He was dealing with an ankle injury, and frankly, I doubt he was going to be much of a help with or without that ankle injury against a player of the caliber of Justin Fields, with his running ability and whatnot. So that was just going to be a difficult test on what's all together in that game. In this game, though, against Denver, yes, you're dealing with Russell Wilson, but you are dealing with the older Russell Wilson who may not be as reluctant to run or scrap around as he did in years past. So he may be working with something here.
Yeah. So the Lions fall to 9-4, as I mentioned before. The Vikings edged the Las Vegas Raiders 3-0. Yeah, 3-0 to improve to 7-6. The Packers lost to the New York Giants, as I also mentioned before, 24-22. Packers fall to 6-7, and the Bears, with their win over the Lions, improved to 5-8. Not to mention the then 4-8 Tennessee Titans beating the more heavily favored Miami Dolphins in that other Monday Night Football matchup.
Well, let's focus primarily on the NFC side of things and NFC
Yeah,
teams as opposed to on the AFC side of things. The NFC, what the Lions are looking at here, in terms of the other teams that you mentioned, if the Lions just handle their business and win their game, they'll be one step closer at the very least to clinching a playoff spot, if not the outright division title. There's still some other things that are out of their control, but the Lions is this: just win two of your next, just win two games out of these next four, or whatever. You'll at the very least be winning the division. However, if you have bigger aspirations, like say getting a better seed in the playoffs, maybe looking for that number two spot, to get yourself a better seeded opponent, so to speak, for that home playoff game, then you got to play much better than what you're doing right now. And it starts, I believe, with your defense in terms of generating a better pass rush. Um, yeah, this is where you miss James Houston because I do believe he can provide that presence, that opposite field presence that Aiden Hutchinson has sorely needed to be more productive and effective this year. That's something that we saw James Houston do to great effect last year. Something that we also, if we went extended a year further, something that we had saw in Aiden's senior year in Michigan with David Ojabo on the other side. So as long as the Lions have someone that's been working just as well on that defensive side on that defensive line, you had an Lee McNeil before he got hurt. So now you're spiraling in a sense. But luckily, with the defense getting some needed help back soon, maybe not this game, but soon next week, with the impending return of CJ Gardner-Johnson, it could be one potential spark that this defense absolutely needed to see happen.
Yeah, he's medically cleared now, but he's not going to practice this week, but he could practice as soon as next week.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're hearing.
That's sure. What's out there. For sure. Now, there's some other good things that could help you out in this game against Denver. It is good to be back at home after those two straight road games. And frankly, you need this because after that, you're going to be back on the road for another two straight games. Because after this one, it's going to be at Minnesota and at Dallas. Mm-hmm, so exactly. This is your penultimate home game. You got to take care of business around the home crowd Saturday night, prime time. But you're doing it against a resilient Denver team because let's not forget, Taylor, they did start 1-5, kind of like mirroring what this Lions team had done last year with the 1-6 start. But now Denver, slowly but surely, they found themselves on the comeback trail. They've won 6 of their last 7, and that has to go due in large part with their defense. The fact that their defense has not given up more than 23 points at all. In 8 straight games, that's the most they've allowed is just 23 points. They've given up more than that amount in the 8-game stretch, not one time. So that added to the fact that in at least 5 of their last 6 games, the Denver defense has been +2 in takeaways, which is what they've been getting turnovers when necessary, and it's crucial when you're seeing a Lions team has been nothing but careless with the football as of late. And then adds into the fact that the Detroit defense has given up at least 26 or more points in 5 straight games. It will be something to look at when you see a Russell Wilson he's not his usual vintage MVP self, but he's been having a much better year, at least better second half than he's been doing and how he's been playing last year. He's had at least a 90 or above QB rating in 5 of those last 6 games, which you could say can correspond with what this winning streak, this run that Denver's had. So if you can get in there, get to Wilson a couple of times, get enough pressure, force a turnover, something to get him off of his rhythm that he's been playing with the past few games, you have a much better shot. And I think it shows in the Vegas spread because the Lions are -4.
4.5 now.
Exactly. So I understand there's things to look at, whether it be Sutton will be a threat in the red zone for Denver, as well as Surtain on the defense. Can he be that leading force to potentially help produce more turnovers and more takeaways for this Denver defense? You never know, but it's quite interesting to look at. I think as long as, again, it speaks back to the better fundamentals. If you have, again, better protection of the football and way better play calling and much smarter play calling and knowledgeable and situational play calling. Like there's no need, like if you see a chance to go for on fourth down, fine, but have a better play call lined up. You know, don't be a fourth and one like we saw here against Chicago. Fourth and one, you don't have David Montgomery on the field, and you do a slow developing run play, or not even do a check down to Jameson Williams, who's dealing with a receiver, with a defender that's given them at least 5 yards of blanket soft coverage on a fourth and one. Like, come on, you got to find some way to work around and make those adjustments, even if it's right at the line of scrimmage, and you can't get too cute. So that's going to be on Ben Johnson. Call a better game. That's going to be on Jared Goff. That's the quarterback to do better in terms of finding the necessary targets and protecting the damn football. And it's going to be on Dan Campbell to have his team prepared and be more disciplined.
Be more disciplined and more aggressive at the same time.
No. I don't. The aggression is fine, but if anything, you got to be more smart because what that aggression has led to those 8 penalties.
Yep.
So you got to be smarter. So it's not the issue about being aggressive. You got to be much more smarter, much more disciplined.
Yep. Exactly.
Because the lack of discipline led to you biting on a damn 4th and 13 that led to that free play touchdown.
Yes, exactly.
So that's the discipline that we're talking about right there.
Mental discipline.
All around.
Yep, all around, especially mentally. Yes. So, Broncos and Lions, Saturday 8:15 NFL Network scoring prediction.
I say Detroit. Since you said 4.5, I'm going to say Lions 28, Broncos 24. The Lions win, but the Broncos get a late cover, late push.
All right. I'm going to go Lions 24, Denver Broncos 21.
I can see that.
Yeah, Lions squeaking a late hang on by the Lions are going to hang on by just a field goal if they're going to win.
I will say though, in the defense's defense, so to speak, it would help a lot if the offense is doing a better job of putting defense in better spots, i.e., going 1 for 5 on fourth down means that tired defense is going to go back out on the field. Same thing applies to when you're not taking care of the football, Jared.
Exactly.
So that has to be in the back of everyone's mind as we're watching this game on Saturday night.
Yeah, Goff's got to learn how to scramble under and play better under pressure.
And use Jameson Williams, for the love of God. Find some way to get this guy more touches, even if you got to put him on. Even if you got to put him on kick returns, do something to get him the ball more. Get him more touches because the stats are starting to prove it. When he gets involved, when he scores touchdowns, you win. The Lions are 4-0 when J-Mo scores a touchdown this year. Let's try to keep that trend going for this game, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And Taylor
use him more.
And Taylor Decker, please, for the love of good, for all that is good here. I'm trying to be as patient as I can with Taylor Decker, but I've been noticing his play as of late, especially on Thanksgiving when Rashawn Gary tore that ass up. Again, he did not look good here against Chicago. If this is keeping up, you have to look into what potential plans the Lions have for that side of the field, because what we've been seeing Penei Sewell being moved over to the left side to play at left tackle a little bit. I wonder if we're going to be seeing that role expand more for next season, but that's a different discussion we'll have when we cross that bridge.
Yep. All right. So, yeah, and that's going to be on Brad Holmes in the offseason, regardless whether the Lions make the playoffs or not. But I think the Lions will make the playoffs at least. Maybe still win the NFC North, but they got to do their own business.
Just handle business, take care of the ball, do the right fundamentals, and you'll be fine. Simple.
Yeah, in all areas on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, but especially on offense, just take care of the ball. You'll be fine, man.
Yes, offense is important. If you can't win if you can't score.
And your defense is in a much better spot if you're having long, sustainable drives, having better ball security, but also having long, sustainable drives where the defense is getting rest, and you're punctuating that drive with some form of points to let the defense know, okay, we did our end of the bargain. Now it's time for you to uphold yours. And if they're not, then that's up on you to the offense to figure out some way to get more points on the board without being too careless with the football. Period.
Exactly. Moving on to college football, just a quick couple notes here. Former Oregon State Beavers quarterback Aiden Chiles transfers to the Michigan State Spartans to join new head coach Jonathan Smith. So a couple of the Beaver regime members of the Beaver regime are taking over in East Lansing.
I think Smith is bringing over his whole is just about his entire coaching staff, which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I got even brought his new defensive coordinator too, and I think he got burned. I think you mentioned that defensive coordinator getting burned by Washington. I can't remember.
I think you're mentioning bringing the defensive coordinator from Minnesota.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And I'll be honest,
by Michigan.
Yeah, when Michigan put up 52 points, the 52-10 special.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. But to be fair, though, that was a different kind of caliber defense and athletic talent on that side of the field that you probably will be dealing with here as you come to Michigan State. Just do a little bit more with the recruiting and in that regard. But I like this move. I like the moves that Jonathan Smith has done because again, it's more of the stability that I said that he needs to represent in terms of being the official replacement for Mel Tucker. So we'll see where that goes.
All right. Speaking of Michigan, according to the Athletics, Bruce Feldman and Kennington Smith, former Michigan football linebackers coach George Hilo was hired by the Alabama Crimson Tide in a role unknown. They'll possibly use him as an outside linebackers coach, replacing Coleman Hutzler.
Mm-hmm. And again, and by the way, if anybody is going to take this as me as trying to complain or whine for Michigan's behalf, no, I'm not. And this is all fair, it's all legal, it's all part of the game. But I noticed that people are not going to be mentioning this as a potential form of in-person advanced scouting, as opposed to the mess and the BS that we've been having to discuss with the sign stealing quote unquote scandal now. Which, by the way, have you noticed how ever since Michigan beat Ohio State again, the talks of that have died down a bit? Just noticing, just curious.
Yes.
But anyway, you got bigger fish to fry here if you're Michigan, though.
Yep. Speaking of which, the Wolverines and the Crimson Tide in the college football playoff semifinal at the Rose Bowl game Monday, New Year's Day, January 1st at 5 p.m. on ESPN.
Yeah, but just pay attention to that money line between now and I would say like few days before the game, because I think it's going to keep fluctuating at least a couple more times before we get closer to kickoff.
Michigan is just -1.
Yeah.
The Red Wings, they beat the Blues 6-4 in St. Louis. After that, the Blues overnight fired their head coach Craig Berube, but they returned home to lose to the Carolina Hurricanes 2-1 in regulation earlier tonight. So the Red Wings are 15-10-4, 34 points. Fourth place in the not so Atlantic Division, first place in the Eastern Conference wild card, while the Hurricanes 16-12-1 with 33 points. So the Red Wings are kind of teetering in the playoff picture.
Teetering, so to speak, because now they've lost 4 out of their last 5 games. It doesn't help the fact that they've been without
Dylan
Larkin,
JT Compher, and David Perron being suspended for 6 games for retaliating against the wrong Ottawa Senators player, not Matthew Joseph, that got Dylan Larkin injured somehow with some type of hit from behind.
Blindsided hit, knocked him out cold. Larkin had to be helped off from the ice.
Yeah.
So
Larkin was practicing earlier tonight before their 2-1 loss.
Yeah, he was practicing. He was practicing at the very least. So that was a very good sign to see. The report saying that he may be good to go as early as Monday. But we'll wait to see that come to fruition. But I expect to see that as a likely return date for Larkin.
All right. So, yeah, Patrick Kane got himself his first goal against the Ottawa Senators, and then in St. Louis, he got an assist.
Right. So you see Kaner slowly but surely getting himself more gelled, more involved, building more chemistry on the line with the certain lines that he's playing with. And I believe that once Larkin gets back, you're going to see more of those points start to tick up, especially if he's playing on the same line as DeBrincat a lot.
Yeah. The Red Wings are in Philly Saturday night against the Flyers at 7 at Wells Fargo Center. And then on Monday, where Dylan Larkin may possibly be back, the Red Wings are back home on Monday against the Anaheim Ducks.
Mm.
Dostal is expected in net for the Ducks, while Ville Husso is expected in net for the Red Wings that game. Alex Lyon will take the net for Detroit against the Philadelphia Flyers Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. That goaltending is still going to be a concern from between here and between now and the deadline.
Yeah, even Lyon has got himself into a slump. So has Reimer.
Mm-hmm.
But even Lyon and Reimer have had better stats thus far this regular season overall than Ville Husso as of right now. Although he only allowed 2 goals in a losing effort to the Canes earlier tonight, like I mentioned before.
Yeah, he did a little bit better, but you still want him to keep up a better pace of, turning in better performances. This is just an unlucky night for him because the offense only managed to get 1 goal in. But again, like I said, this was without your captain and 2 other important key players that's been producing for the offensive side of things. So,
yeah, true. Still got other weapons like Lucas Raymond, Robbie Fabry. He got to go in St. Louis.
Yep, exactly.
Jake Wallman.
Fabry and Raymond helped lead the comeback in that third period in St. Louis. Wallman, as you mentioned, was another player.
Michael Rasmussen. He got the empty net goal in the St. Louis, and he got the only goal in that Hurricanes game.
Yeah, Sprong has been timely with a couple of key goals when necessary. But like I said, the main pieces come from your top 2 lines, and I think getting Comper and Perron and Larkin back soon would be greatly beneficial.
Yeah. So making connections with Allie, great show and good information. Thanks very much. The Pistons have lost 21 straight. They're 2-22. They're completely dead.
My goodness. And frankly, at this point, what do you do in terms of demanding accountability from your coach? Because it seems like at this point, most of this is starting to fall now on coaching more than anything. Because I don't know what else can you do to have your team prepared, properly set up, disciplined, lineups, whatever. Something is not being done right on the coaching end for this to keep happening.
No one's being held accountable.
I understand.
Whether it's on the coaching, the players, or the administration.
I understand working with the talent that's around you, but we expected much more. We expected far better than what we saw last year, and certainly far better than the crap that we're seeing now. So that falls on Monty Williams, and that's got to fall on Troy Weaver.
Yep.
You mentioned accountability; those 2 need to be held accountable. Period.
Yep.
And I wish
is Tom Gores holding them accountable? Yes or no?
Exactly. Where is the owner in saying this? The owner needs to be saying this.
Right now, he's still in Los Angeles, and that's exactly where he lives.
Okay.
From what I hear.
When things were not going well for the Lions last year, what you saw Sheila Fordham getting up there and speaking and taking accountability and letting people know, no, this
Sheila Ford means business, unlike Tom Gores.
Exactly. Sheila let people know, listen, this is unacceptable. We're gonna do what's ever in our power to make sure things get better. And when you know what things did get better, but it starts at the top when the top is recognizing the problems that's going on, and you're just not seeing that from Tom Gores.
No, I have a really bad feeling that nothing is ever going to change with him or the organization.
Well, that's unfortunate because it seems to be like another wasted regime, then another wasted administration.
Unfortunate, but true. It's the truth. And finally, the Tigers signed relief pitcher Andrew Chafin. Welcome back to a 1 year, $4.2 million deal, according to Spot Track. The score has it $4.75 million for some reason, but whatever. It's $4.25 million with a club option for 2025. And then pitcher Jack Flaherty earlier today went to a 1 year, $14 million contract with possible bonuses to get him up to $15 million.
Now, these two moves were done for bullpen purposes, correct? I don't think Flaherty is starting, is he? He's not a rotation guy. He's just for a bullpen.
I have not heard.
Yeah, bullpen arm. I know for sure Chafin is. But I wasn't certain if
Chafin's good.
Yeah, but I wasn't.
I hear Flaherty isn't.
Yeah, but we'll see if he can improve on that. Maybe just moving into the bullpen is much better than having them be on the rotation.
Yeah, probably just in garbage time, just to help him work on his mechanics and command and velocity and stuff like that. Because we saw his numbers from one fan that actually pointed out his statistics in 2022 and 2023. And I forwarded that to you guys, to you and Frank Vajner.
Major difference.
Yeah, exactly. Let me dig that up one more time. Okay, where the heck is it? Flaherty logged a 3.34 ERA as a 22-year-old in 2018 and a 2.75 ERA in 2019 and 33 starts. Since then, he has dealt with a plethora of injuries that have derailed his career, according to Torkelson and Green on X at Green Torkelson.
Mm-hmm. So basically, injuries has stifled his development, is what the gist of what this person was saying.
Yeah. So lately he's been dealing with injuries, but it's actually a matter of him staying healthy when he returns to action in Major League Baseball.
That's what I figured.
Yep. So the Tigers get Mark Canha, Kenta Maeda, Andrew Chafin, and Jack Flaherty all on the field while getting Jason Benetti as the new play-by-play announcer for the Tigers on Bally Sports Detroit. So those are all the teams we covered in this episode. And now, what all did we learn tonight?
We learned that, frankly, the Lions still need some things to fix up if they would have considered an upper echelon team in the NFC. The weaknesses and holes are more apparent now than what they were earlier at the start of the season. If you're not going to address it now, then you damn sure better address them in the offseason. That includes better play from your quarterback. And frankly, if Jared Goff keeps up this level of play, do not be surprised if more fans are going to be calling to see either a Teddy Bridgewater sighting or even, dare I say, Hendon Hooker. What we learned about the Red Wings is they can be productive enough. They can still score goals even without Dylan Larkin or JT Compher or Dare Perron.
They even have the capability of winning games without Dylan Larkin. They beat the Blues 6-4 without Larkin, Perron, and Compher.
But if they don't have proper goaltending, that's not going to matter much. Period.
Exactly.
That's what we learned about the Red Wings. And for the Tigers, it's simple. I think they're just trying to build a stockade with enough depth, enough good talent on their pitching for both from the bullpen standpoint and from the rotation standpoint.
Exactly. So, yep, and that's exactly what we've learned because it's out there. And that's another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. On multiple platforms, I'm Taylor Phillips. He's Ed Smith. Follow the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on X and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. And like its Facebook page, subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Like our videos and turn on all notifications on the bell icon. Follow it and listen to it in audio form on Spreaker. Follow me on X and Instagram, formerly Twitter, at DT2Phillips. Also on YouTube at DT2Phillips. Follow Ed Smith on X, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube at EdSmith313. Business shout outs go to Athletico Physical Therapy on Woodward in Ferndale, the B4 Foundation. Also, Burke's Waterfront Restaurant in Cadillac. Cali Tickets. Call Mark Goldman at 877-225-8425 or visit CaliTickets.com. Creative Embroidery of Cadillac for designing the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast logo on my long sleeve shirt and t-shirt. Cuts by Melanie in Lake City. I am scheduled to get a haircut over there, just like 5 miles northeast of this exact location next Thursday. Let's roll with it. Rolled ice cream in Cadillac, where their flavor of the week right now is winter candy cane. Next week's flavor of the week is eggnog. Northern Star. Oh, follow Let's Roll with It. Rolled ice cream in Cadillac on TikTok at the Food Mafia LLC and on Instagram at the Food Mafia Rolled Ice Cream. Northern Star Event Rentals in Cadillac 231-884-8195 and on Facebook. United Food Service Solutions of Grand Ledge, Michigan, where Jim Lyons works. Our next episode is next Thursday at 10:30 p.m. Until then, for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips, signing off. But remember, we observe and detect the truth about Michigan sports because the truth is out there. Can you handle it? Stay aware and stay on the lookout, people. Ta-ta, hit him with a high.
Take care and be safe, everybody.